Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us today. The only weekly session ahead of this week's match against Seattle Sounders on Thursday. We'll have Josh Wolff joining us for the first portion of this session, and then we'll have Alex Ring joining us at around 1:45 in the afternoon today. As usual, please do use the raise your hand function if you want to ask questions, and we'll go around the room. Thank you so very much. Let's start with Mike Craven.
Hey, Coach, I'm sure the break was really good from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint, how much was that needed?
It's a good point. I think on both sides. I think you're right on both sides. The season has its ebbs and flows where there's a lot of games, there's a lot of activity, travel and heat. We haven't traveled that much lately, but the heat's come and we had some games. So it gives us a little bit of a break, which was nice. It was good to have a Tigress game in there sandwiched in between as a game, but also a really an opportunity to push some minutes for certain guys that hadn't played, but also to try out some things. So I think, over the course of the last 2 weeks, we've worked a good bit on certain aspects of our game. And I think there's been really good progress and good understanding from the players. And we're looking forward to a good game against Seattle. And, I think the last couple of weeks has been really helpful for us.
And from a health standpoint, Alex, Danny, kind of what's the update on those guys?
Well, Danny hasn't joined us in training yet, but he's certainly close. Johnny's been in and out of training. CC and Alex got back into training. Trying to think who else we have. Yeah, and Lima's working his way back in as well. There's a couple of those guys that are probably a week or a couple weeks away, but I'm glad to have, certainly have a couple of them back in training full, starting just recently.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, Mike. Praise Bills.
Hi, Josh. I had a chance to watch the U.S. men's national team in person in Kansas City and kind of have a little bit of a bird's eye look at what they were doing, and saw them a little bit in a 4-4-2 diamond, which I think you guys have used sparingly a little bit, and sort of that formational fluidity that we've talked about pretty much since the first home match. I'm just curious, what the communication is like at this point with you and that staff and Greg, and how much you guys are talking about different ideas and what that looks like. Is it a text thread? Is it email? Is it, a tactics nerd group chat that you guys are both in, or, what is that kind of dynamic like now that you're separate, but I know a lot of your ideas are similar in a lot of ways?
Yeah, I think we'll exchange texts every now and then. I certainly wouldn't say it's regular, but I send them, good well wishes, certainly in the games, and some congrats, but it's not much more than that. But I haven't seen all their games or all the entirety of all their games, but I think that's what you're getting right now. There is some fluidity with their structure, and based on injuries, based on form, based on just trying out new ideas and seeing what the players can provide you with, but also with what they can try to instill in the players and see if they can execute. I think that's what you're seeing. And unfortunately, you've seen in a lot of these teams, there has been injuries, and it's, that's also part of it that you have to navigate now. What personnel do you have? What's the opponent like? And how do you want to get control of that on both when you have the ball and when you don't have the ball? So those are always fascinating things when I watch us play or when I watch opponents play, but certainly the national team, having been in that circle and worked with Greg extensively, it's always interesting to see what the setup is, because there's a method behind what he's trying to do. And certainly whatever players you have available, he tries to make some adjustments based on that, based on their strengths and their qualities. But, they've done relatively well. It's a difficult, 6 games that come rather quickly. There's travel, there's heat, different types of opponents. So it's progressed, and it's continued to progress through the tournament, but also get better as you go through it. And I think that's happening.
So you mentioned injuries there, and like you said, it's been around the league and with these national teams, even seeing some injuries during this tournament. Have you been able to put a finger on maybe some of the reasons behind some of the injuries? And I know you guys have been hit worse than some other teams, but is there something about the schedule, the amount of time that you guys had off last year? Is there something that you guys have been able to put your finger on, or people around the league have started to talk about that's leading to some of these issues?
No, I think it's a balance of a lot of that. I think there's, what the off season looks like for teams coming out of COVID, and, travel, schedule congestion, heat, these things all start to play a role in how you can recover and then prepare. And then obviously if you're at home or away, it will take a toll, and you do as best you can to lighten the loads when you can, but it's a long season. So you have to keep pushing fitness when you can. But when the games are coming quickly, it's very much about recovery and then doing as much or as little as possible to make sure your team is fresh and ready to go for the next game. But when you get hit with some injuries, plural, 4 or 5 guys, I mean, it really stresses your group, because you may not have perfect fits in certain positions. And, I think most teams have faced it. We've faced it. I know Seattle's faced it. I know, you see it around the league. It happens. And the summer is a grind. And I've been part of this league for a long time. You'll see really where you're at come August. Do you have the bodies ready to go? Are you physically fit? And are you still attached to the playoffs? And that's part of it. It's you want to be in that space where you're competing for playoffs, knowing that the summer is an absolute grind. Physically, the soccer can also, not be exactly what you want it to be because of, again, accumulation of games, playing during the day, the travel. So it's taxing, but that's part of the MLS grind. And we're going to hit it here real quick again. We're hopeful that we keep getting some of these bodies back. We've had a little bit of a slowdown, but I know in the next 6 to 8 weeks it's going to pick up heavy, and games come quick, and our guys are going to be pushed, and we're going to need to be fresh and certainly use our entire squad as much as we can.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. John Lupo.
Josh, do you feel like that since you had such a long break from the last match you guys played, getting the Tigress match in was not only good for you to see some of the players that you wanted to see, but also maybe you could take some things that happened in that game that you could apply when you play a team like Seattle?
Yeah, I think both of the, I think it's a great question. It's a great point. Again, I think we got, I think it's important when you have a break, oftentimes if you don't have a game, you come back to that first game and it's really rusty. There's, you haven't had a game in 2 or 3 weeks, and other teams, they're in game mode and they have a rhythm sometimes. So for us, I like the fact that we had that Tigress game in there. Unfortunately, we had a number of guys that weren't available for it. So that was the downside. But the positive was we saw Johan, we saw Rodney, we saw Aiden and Freddie. We got guys minutes that hadn't got minutes. And Freddie and Johan and Rodney and Johan performed really well. And there's been a real noticeable uptick for Rodney again. And getting him back to feeling fit and sharp and confident was a big part of it. Kakuta saw significant minutes. So again, I thought it was a great opportunity to get guys out on the field. They performed pretty well. They're a fun opponent, a difficult opponent to play against. And again, we got to introduce another idea of playing with a back five and seeing what that looked like, and allowed us to walk through that, work through it leading up to it, and document it and assess it coming out of it. So those are things that are helpful in the long run. We have to continue to evolve and develop our players, certainly the way that we want to play, but also some of these other ideas defensively, having different structures based on, certainly what the opponent's about, but we put them into play in games, which gives us real quick feedback. And that's helpful.
Thank you. Let's go with John High, followed by Mark Turner.
Coach, do you take anything from the first meeting with Seattle, or is it more about just the things you guys have been working on the past couple of weeks?
No, we certainly utilize the video and the game that we played in Seattle. They're an extremely good team, and they suffered their first loss just recently. They're very experienced. They got some high quality attackers and a very stable back line. So we have a good idea of how they want to play and how they want to press, and certainly how comfortable they are in defending low block. They're a very strong team. They've only given up 9 goals. They've scored 23. So they're a solid team from back to front. Over the last 2 weeks, we've been able to work on some things, and we've talked about things, and certainly finishing attacks, scoring goals is something that we'll continue to address. But I really liked how we worked through things the last 8 to 10 days to bring more ideas, bring more clarity to our attacks, whether we're playing Seattle or another opponent. But there's certainly some key things that we feel like we can do and need to do to to stress Seattle, and they're a good team. So it's going to take some work to break them down. Anytime a team has a back five and 3 center mids, 8 guys behind the ball, it's challenging. But I think we have some very good ideas, and we have the players that can do it. So it'll be a good challenge, and we look forward to it. But playing at home, being aggressive, having the energy, pushing the tempo, those are the things that are going to be for us extremely important, as they have been each time we played at home. And we performed really well at home. We got to get the goals. We got to get the goals.
Thank you, Mr. Mark Turner. Welcome back, and followed by Chris Bills.
Uh-oh.
Having some issues, Mark.
Mark's traveling abroad again.
Apparently. Let's go with Chris Bills and wait and see if he can reconnect. Thank you.
Sure. Josh, do you have a status update on Musa Jite? It looked like he's not in training with you guys yet, but where is he in the process, and do you expect to get him at some point this week?
I hope so. I think we should be getting him this week. And then as he arrives, there'll be some time for quarantine, but he'll be able to do some workouts on his own as any time we brought in new players and they were in that quarantine period. They can get access to the field, and from a distance, they'll get some work and some prep work on the field. So that'll be nice. But hopefully he's here sooner than later, and we can get him working and even start showing him exactly the way we play, what his role will be, help really spell out what it's going to look like for him as he gets up to speed. But it's like anything with a new player, there is the acclimation of getting into market and getting settled. Obviously we want to get him introduced to the group as quickly as possible, but we got to be mindful of it. It's a big change of life and change of scenery. So we'll bring him in as quickly as we can, but like I said, be mindful with where he's at.
Is Vancouver a reasonable expectation for the first time we might see him, or is it more like those Copa Tejas matches the first week of August?
It's a good question. We'll just have to see how he is when he gets in, what level of fitness he has, and just getting him acclimated to the group. But I would hope he comes in at a decent level with his fitness, and then getting his level of understanding of how we want to play, and certainly get him on the field and inside the group as quickly as possible. And the timetable, we'll just have to see.
We have an internal question. Thank you, Chris, from Mark Turner. His question is about recruitment update. How many players in transfer window, Josh?
How many players are we getting, or are we looking to add?
Looking, correct.
We're always looking to add players. I think part of it is roster space. I mean, we don't have a lot of roster space. We've had some season-ending injuries, so that maybe gives us a little bit of flexibility. But we'll continue to look for players. Obviously, Moose is coming in shortly. We're certainly looking at some attacking players, albeit striker, attacking mids, central mids. Again, added quality to our group, whether that's a DP or otherwise. But we're always looking for potential players. One, so that we're prepared for now, but also for the off season as well.
Great.